In the quiet streets of Manchester, Claire Thompson sat in her small, cozy apartment, exhausted from another long day of work. The soft evening light filtered through worn curtains, casting shadows on the faded wallpaper. Her daughter Emily was asleep in the next room, a peaceful contrast to the challenges they faced daily. Claire's phone buzzed unexpectedly. At first, she thought it might be another work message or a reminder about Emily's school activities. But when she looked down, her breath caught in her throat. The message was from Richard Holloway, a name she hadn't seen or heard in 5 long years. Her fingers trembled as she opened the text. It wasn't meant for her, that much was clear. The message seemed to be accidentally sent, a raw, unfiltered glimpse into Richard's inner thoughts. He was talking about regret, about missed opportunities, about a family he had walked away from. Claire remembered the day Richard left. She was pregnant with Emily, their dreams of a perfect family crumbling around her. He was a successful banker, always chasing the next big deal, always believing something more important existed beyond their small apartment and growing family. When she told him about the pregnancy, his eyes had gone cold. "I'm not ready," he had said. Those words had cut deeper than any knife. Now, years later, this accidental text painted a different picture. Richard spoke about emptiness, about the hollow success that meant nothing without family. He mentioned therapy, personal growth, a journey of understanding he had undertaken since leaving. Emily knew very little about her father. Claire had protected her, creating a world where love was defined by actions, not absent promises. At 9 years old, Emily was bright, resilient, and full of curiosity. She had her father's eyes, a deep, searching blue that seemed to hold untold stories. Claire read the message again. Part of her wanted to delete it, to protect herself from potential hurt. Another part, a smaller, more vulnerable part, felt a tiny spark of hope igniting. Could people truly change? Could mistakes be forgiven? The apartment felt different somehow. The walls that had witnessed her struggles, her late-night working hours, her quiet moments of both despair and determination, now seemed to hold a different energy. A possibility of something more. She thought about her life, working 2 jobs to support Emily, sacrificing personal dreams to ensure her daughter had everything she needed. Every moment had been a testament to a mother's love, to survival, to resilience. The text remained on her screen, a digital reminder that life sometimes presents unexpected opportunities. Richard's words were not just an apology, but a request for reconnection. He wanted to know about Emily, to understand the daughter he had never met. Claire's hand hovered over the phone. Responding meant risking her carefully constructed world. It meant potentially opening old wounds, allowing someone who had hurt her deeply back into their lives. But it also meant giving Emily a chance to know her father, to understand the complexity of adult relationships. Outside, Manchester's evening settled in. Streetlights flickered on, casting warm glows on the quiet neighborhood. Inside, Claire took a deep breath. Her daughter slept peacefully, unaware that a single text message might change everything. She thought about love, how it wasn't always perfect, how it could be messy and complicated. How forgiveness wasn't about forgetting, but about understanding and growth. The phone felt heavy in her hand. One message. One moment. The potential to rewrite their family's story. Claire looked towards Emily's room, where her daughter dreamed of unknown possibilities. Whatever decision she made would impact not just her own life, but the life of the little girl who had been her entire world for 9 years. Her finger hovered over the screen. To respond or not to respond. To open a door that had been firmly shut, or to protect the peaceful life they had built. In that moment, between possibility and protection, Claire Thompson held her breath. The small cafe near Manchester's town centre buzzed with morning activity. Claire arrived precisely at 10 a.m., her hands nervously clutching her leather handbag. She wore a simple blue sweater, her hair pulled back in a practical ponytail that spoke of a woman who valued function over fashion. Richard Holloway sat at a corner table, looking different from the confident banker she once knew. Age had softened his sharp features, adding lines of vulnerability to his once perfect professional appearance. He looked nervous, his fingers wrapped around a half-empty coffee cup. "Claire," he said softly, his voice carrying a weight of unspoken emotions. She sat down, maintaining a careful distance. The table between them felt like more than just furniture. It was a barrier of years of hurt, of broken promises, of a life abandoned. "I've changed," Richard began, his words careful and measured. "Therapy helped me understand why I ran. Why I was so afraid of becoming a father." Claire listened silently. She had heard promises before. Empty words that meant nothing when real commitment was required. Her daughter Emily's face flashed in her mind, the innocent child who had grown up without knowing her father. Richard pulled out an envelope. Inside were documents showing he had been setting up an education fund for Emily. School fees, potential future university support, tangible evidence of his desire to make amends. "I want to know my daughter," he said, his blue eyes filled with a mixture of hope and genuine remorse. "Not to replace you or challenge your parenting. Just to be a part of her life." Claire's professional background as a part-time accountant kicked in. She carefully examined the documents, her analytical mind processing the financial commitments Richard was proposing. These weren't just empty promises, these were structured, legal commitments. The cafe around them continued its morning rhythm. Cups clinked, conversations hummed, but for Claire and Richard, the world had narrowed to the small table and years of unresolved emotions. "Emily doesn't know much about you," Claire finally spoke. Her voice was calm, controlled. "She knows you left before she was born. That's all." Richard nodded, understanding the weight of his absence. "I want to change that. Slowly. With your permission and guidance." A waitress approached, refilling their coffee. The mundane act felt surreal against the emotional landscape they were navigating. Claire thought about Emily's recent school projects, her love for mathematics, her curious nature. She wondered how much of Richard might be reflected in their daughter. Genetics were more than just physical appearances, they carried hidden traits, unexplored potentials. "I'm not promising everything will be perfect," Richard continued. "I'm promising to try. To be present. To support you both in whatever way you need." His vulnerability was different from his past bravado. This wasn't the man who had walked away, but someone who had done the hard work of understanding his mistakes. Outside, Manchester's streets continued their daily dance. People rushed to work, children walked to school, life moved forward. Inside the cafe, two people were attempting to rebuild a connection that had once seemed permanently broken. Claire's hand unconsciously touched the envelope with Emily's potential future documented inside. A future that now potentially included a father who wanted to make amends. "We'll take this slowly," she said finally. Her tone was a careful blend of caution and hope. "Emily comes first. Always." Richard nodded, understanding this was less a negotiation and more a commitment to their daughter's well-being. As they spoke, carefully mapping out potential interactions, visitations, and support, the morning light shifted. Manchester's unpredictable weather pushed clouds aside, allowing a soft sunshine to fill the cafe. It felt like a metaphor, light breaking through years of darkness, offering a possibility of warmth, of healing, of reconnection. Neither knew exactly what the future held. But for the first time in 5 years, they were willing to find out together. Emily Thompson sat at her small desk, surrounded by colorful drawings and school books. Her bedroom reflected a typical 9-year-old's world: posters of science discoveries, carefully arranged stuffed animals, and a bookshelf overflowing with adventure novels. She had overheard conversations between her mother and an unfamiliar man. A man her mother said was her father. The word felt strange in her mouth, father. Until now, it had been just a concept, something other kids talked about, but not a reality in her life. At school, Emily was known as a bright student. Her mathematics teacher, Miss Roberts, often praised her analytical thinking. "You see patterns where others see chaos," she would say. Emily loved solving puzzles, understanding how different pieces connected to create a complete picture. Now, her life felt like an unfinished puzzle. Richard, the man who shared her blue eyes and sharp analytical mind, wanted to be part of her world. But what did that mean? She drew pictures in her notebook, trying to imagine what a complete family might look like. Her drawings were precise. Stick figures representing her mother, herself, and now this new figure of her father. Sometimes the figures were close, sometimes distant. Emily's artistic representation mirrored her emotional uncertainty. Claire had been careful in explaining things. "Your father wants to know you," she had said. "But we'll take things slowly." Slowly. Another puzzle piece Emily was trying to understand. At dinner, Emily asked questions. Lots of questions. Why did he leave? Why now? Does he want to replace you, Mom? Claire's responses were patient. She explained complicated adult emotions in ways Emily could understand. People make mistakes. Sometimes they learn and want to make things right. Richard had started sending small gifts. Not expensive things, but thoughtful ones. A book about mathematical puzzles. A science kit for conducting experiments. Each gift felt like a careful attempt to connect, to show he was paying attention. Emily's best friend, Lucy, knew about the potential family changes. "My parents are divorced too," Lucy had shared. "But my dad never tries to contact me." The conversation made Emily realize how unique her situation was. She began researching about fathers. School library books, online resources, conversations with classmates. She wanted to understand what a father meant beyond biological connection. Her mother watched these explorations carefully. Claire wanted Emily to make her own decisions, to feel comfortable with any potential relationship. No pressure, no expectations. Richard's messages were always gentle. "I'd like to hear about your school projects," or "What books are you reading?" He didn't push, didn't demand. He waited, offering small bridges of connection. Emily's school had a father-daughter dance coming up. For years, she had watched other girls arrive with their fathers, feeling a mix of curiosity and slight sadness. Now, the possibility of attending with her own father felt both exciting and terrifying. She practiced conversations in her mind. What would she say? How would she act? Her analytical brain processed potential scenarios, creating mental flowcharts of possible interactions. The school counselor, Mr. Thompson, noticed changes in Emily. "You seem more curious about family dynamics," he observed during one of their regular check-ins. Emily appreciated adults who spoke to her like a thinking individual, not just a child. Her drawings became more complex. The stick figures gained details, emotions, connections, potential futures. Each sketch was a way of processing her changing family landscape. Richard continued sending supportive messages. School fees were paid, educational opportunities were discussed. But more importantly, he showed genuine interest in Emily as a person. As Manchester's autumn approached, bringing crisp winds and changing colors, Emily felt something shifting inside her. A potential. A possibility. The idea that families could be rebuilt, reconnected, reimagined. She wasn't sure about everything. But she was willing to explore, to understand, to potentially welcome this new puzzle piece into her carefully constructed world. Her mother's love remained constant. And now, perhaps, there was room for something more. The months passed slowly, carefully, like a delicate dance of tentative connection. Richard began proving his commitment through consistent, thoughtful actions. Every interaction was supervised, carefully orchestrated to make Emily and Claire feel safe and comfortable. School became Richard's first meaningful connection point with Emily. He started by supporting her educational needs, paying for additional mathematics tutoring, buying advanced science books, showing genuine interest in her academic progress. These weren't just financial contributions, but carefully considered investments in understanding his daughter. Claire watched everything with protective eyes. Her accounting background made her analyze every interaction, every promise, every potential commitment. She had built her life around protecting Emily, and old wounds didn't heal quickly. Emily's first supervised meeting with Richard happened at a local park. Neutral territory. Safe ground. She brought her science notebook, a shield, and conversation starter. Richard listened more than he spoke, asking gentle questions about her school projects, her interests. "I love solving mathematical puzzles," Emily explained, showing him a complex equation she had been working on. Richard's eyes lit up, recognition of a shared analytical approach to understanding the world. Claire sat nearby, observing. Her body language was protective but not aggressive. She wanted Emily to have space to explore this new relationship on her own terms. Richard never tried to replace Claire. He positioned himself as an additional support, not a replacement parent. "Your mom is amazing," he would tell Emily. "She's done an incredible job raising you." Slowly, carefully, trust began building. Not through grand gestures, but through consistent, small moments of genuine connection. Emily started asking more questions about her father's work. Richard explained his banking career in ways she could understand, breaking down complex financial concepts into simple, engaging explanations. She discovered they shared a love for problem solving, for understanding systems and structures. Manchester's weather shifted from autumn to winter. The city's gray skies became a metaphor for their healing journey, sometimes cloudy, sometimes offering glimpses of unexpected brightness. Richard began attending school events. Not as a dominant presence, but as a supportive additional figure. Parent-teacher conferences, science fairs, mathematical competitions. He was present, but not overwhelming. Claire's friends noticed changes. "You seem different," her best friend Sarah observed. "More open." Claire acknowledged the slow transformation. Healing wasn't linear, but it was happening. Emily started keeping a journal. Her entries documented her feelings, her discoveries about having a father. Some entries were hopeful, some confused, some cautiously optimistic. She was processing a complex emotional landscape. Richard respected boundaries. He never tried to buy Emily's affection with expensive gifts. Instead, he offered experiences, museum visits, science center trips, educational opportunities that aligned with her interests. The education fund he had established wasn't just about money. It was a promise of future support, of commitment beyond immediate interactions. Claire carefully reviewed the documentation, ensuring everything was transparent and secure. Emily's school counselor noticed positive changes. "She seems more confident," Mr. Thompson told Claire during a routine meeting. "Having a supportive extended family can make a significant difference." Trust wasn't rebuilt overnight. It was a daily commitment. Richard showed up consistently. He was punctual for every agreed interaction. He communicated openly with Claire about plans, never making unilateral decisions. As winter settled over Manchester, their little family began finding a new rhythm. Not perfect, but genuine. Authentic. A continuous process of understanding, of healing, of reconnection. Emily still had questions. Moments of uncertainty. But she also had something new, a sense that families could be complicated, messy, and still be filled with love. Richard wasn't trying to erase the past. He was trying to build a future. One careful conversation, one shared moment at a time. And slowly, carefully, trust began to take root. 1 year had passed since that unexpected text message changed everything. Manchester's seasons had cycled through winter, spring, and now settled into a gentle summer. Emily, now 10, had transformed in ways no one could have predicted. Richard had become a consistent presence in their lives. Not perfect, but genuinely committed. He attended Emily's school events, contributed to her education, and maintained open communication with Claire. Their relationship had evolved from bitter separation to a careful co-parenting partnership. Emily's science projects became a bridge of connection. Her latest competition entry, a complex model showing environmental sustainability, caught Richard's attention. He helped her refine her research, offering guidance without taking over. Claire watched these interactions with a mixture of pride and cautious hope. The family had developed unique traditions. Sunday afternoon science museum visits. Monthly educational outings. Shared meals where conversation flowed naturally, without the tension of past hurts. Claire's work had stabilized. Richard's financial support allowed her to reduce her working hours, giving her more time with Emily. She'd started taking online courses, pursuing a long-abandoned dream of completing her advanced accounting certification. Emily's perspective on family had become more nuanced. She understood now that families weren't perfect picture book images, but complex networks of love, support, and understanding. Her journal entries reflected a growing emotional intelligence. Richard's transformation was most evident in his approach to relationships. Therapy had taught him about vulnerability, about being present. He wasn't the distant banker who had walked away years ago. He was learning to be a father, making mistakes but always trying. Their first family holiday came unexpectedly. A weekend trip to the Lake District, carefully planned to ensure everyone felt comfortable. Emily packed her science books, Claire her planning notebook, Richard his commitment to being present. The cottage they rented overlooked rolling green hills. Emily spent hours exploring, collecting rock samples, asking questions. Richard listened, genuinely interested. Claire observed, seeing connections forming that she never thought possible. Neighborhood friends noticed the change. "Your family seems different," Lucy's mother commented to Claire. Different wasn't perfect, but it was real. Authentic. Emily's school performance improved. Her confidence grew. Having a supportive extended family meant more than just financial support, it meant emotional understanding. Mr. Thompson, her school counselor, noted significant positive changes in her social interactions. Richard didn't try to buy love. His gifts were thoughtful educational resources, shared experiences, genuine time and attention. He understood now that love wasn't about grand gestures, but consistent presence. Claire had learned to trust again. Not just Richard, but herself. Her ability to create a supportive environment for Emily, to allow healing, to embrace complexity. Their family gatherings became something to look forward to. Sunday lunches filled with laughter, discussions about Emily's school projects, shared memories being carefully rebuilt. The past wasn't erased. Hurt wasn't magically disappeared. But they had found a way to acknowledge pain while moving forward. Emily understood that people could make mistakes and still be worthy of love. Richard's financial success now had a different meaning. It wasn't about status, but about supporting his family. Paying for Emily's education, supporting Claire's professional growth, being present in ways that truly mattered. As summer settled over Manchester, their little family represented something powerful. Redemption. Understanding. The possibility that families could be rebuilt, reconnected, reimagined. Emily looked different. More confident. More secure. She had learned that families weren't defined by perfect moments, but by consistent love, understanding, and willingness to grow. Claire found peace she hadn't known was possible. Richard had become a partner in parenting, not an adversary. Their communication was respectful, focused on Emily's well-being. One evening, watching Emily work on a complex science project, Richard and Claire shared a moment of understanding. They had traveled a difficult path. But they had arrived somewhere unexpected. Somewhere beautiful. A new beginning. Not perfect. But real. Authentic. Filled with love.